This is the breakdown of my UI design for a card game called Squishy Savours. Squishy Saviour is a turn-based card game in which players battle against each other in a game of wits. The players will have a deck of cards that will use in this battle to lower the opposing player's health to zero in order to win the game. The theme of the game is a soft, cuddly environment that is family friendly and suitable for all ages. The game will have pastel colours and simple art that is eye friendly. Inspirations for the game consist of Legends of Runeterra and PvZ heroes. Legends of Runeterra is a clear design and inspired several parts of the design. This game also inspired the pop-out like pages that I've used. What I mean by this is that some of the cream background is always visible, and the pages that the player uses looks like they have slid out from the side. I did this to make it feel like the player is flipping through a book, which is the UI, and it helps make everything feel the same and connected as they share the same background and visuals. I want this book-like feeling as Squishy Savours is a card game about plushies fighting, just as a child would use his toys to recreate scenarios. Having this book feel gives off the feeling that a child is making their own story. PvZ has a good colour scheme. It makes each individual part pop out. When designing my UI, I created a user flow diagram using Figma. This was to get a good grasp on how the user flow would operate and how well a player could navigate around. This was also made to make the start of development easier, as I knew what pages needed and how many pages there were. Next, I started designing the visuals for the game using Figma again. Figma allowed me to get a better grasp of the navigation of the UI and how everything would connect and flow together. Doing this also let me condense all of the information I needed on one page and set a good bone structure for when I start making the UI itself. I will now go through each individual page of the UI that I have created. One thing to note before going through each page is that there is a sidebar as shown. This is visible on every single page you will see. This serves as the main navigation to each individual page. I made this sidebar as it makes the user experience and flow much easier and cleaner, as players don't have to go back to the main menu every single time, which sometimes means closing down multiple pages. The sidebar also helps the book-like feeling that I'm aiming for. Another feature that is on every page is the exit button at the top right. When clicked, this takes the player back to the main menu. The first page is simply the main menu. This only has a side canvas and the background is all a large open space which will showcase current patch images or anything that is relevant to the game at the time. The next page is the player menu page. This page is loaded via the button on the sidebar. This page shows all the decks that the player has created using a scroll view. When the player clicks on one of the decks, they will be taken to the Select Game Mode menu. This will show what deck the player has selected on the left, with options for them to change the deck and edit it. This page is where the player will actually go to search for a game once they are happy with whatever the deck they have chosen. This next page is the Deck Builder Select page. This page is very similar to the Play menu page, as it shows each deck that the player has created. When one of these decks are clicked on, it will open that deck in the Deck Editor page. At the bottom of this page is a light blue bar which has two buttons. One of these buttons will create a new deck for the player and open up on the Deck Builder page. The other one is an option to import a deck that another player has created. The next page is the Deck Builder page. This page will show all the cards available in the game in the center of the screen. When a card is clicked on, it will add it to a list using this code. This list is the current deck they are editing. All cards that the player has in their deck will be shown on the left hand side of the page next to the sidebar. It will also show the amount of cards they have in the deck. Another thing the player can edit is the plushie selected, which is above the cards the player has in their deck. The bottom of this page will have a search bar, filters bar, and save deck. The next page is the profile page. This will display the profile picture that the user has selected for themselves, and it will show all the info and the stats that the player has accumulated while playing the game. The next page that the user can go on is the store page. The top part of this page will show the most popular cards that are currently in the game. The bottom part of this page will show all the cards that are available in the game, This will be on a side scroll view. There will also be a filters and search bar at the bottom to help out the user search for certain cards. The last page that the player can visit is the settings page. This will be general stuff such as resolution and usability settings. This is the code for my highlight script. When the player hovers their mouse over a button, it will call this function, in which changes the colour of the outline of the card. This is a separate image that is behind the card. When hovered over, it will change the colour and the size of the card. When the player's mouse leaves the object/highlight, it will put the size back to normal and the highlight back to black. I will now explain some of the card for a feature in the UI. In the settings page, the player can change what colour the previously mentioned highlight is. This changes all of the highlights for the entire UI. Here is the code. When the button is clicked, it sets a certain ball to true in this manager. This manager is spawned in on the main menu, and it sets to don't destroy on load. This is so that the highlight script can always find this specific one, which has the correct balls on it, and so there is no duplicates which will break the code. When the highlight script has found this manager, and the player hovers their mouse over the object, the script will check which ball is true, and therefore change the highlight to that colour. For my method of testing, I made a questionnaire for people who are testing. The aim of this test is to get a good idea on how easy certain aspects of the UI is, and if their user experience of the UI is great. I asked the following questions. What card games have you played? This aims to get a good graphic on what they have played to compare their UI to ours, and why the tester answers the way they do. These are the results. How difficult is it to navigate? This aims to see how the user experiences of navigating the menu is, as being able to use everything with ease is very important and leads to a smoother experience. 1 equals easy, 5 equals hard. These are the results. My thoughts on these results means that the testers were able to easily navigate the UI, which means nothing about the layout needs to be changed. Thoughts on the colour scheme. This question aims to see how easy on the eyes the UI is, as if it's unreadable or the UI is ugly to look at, it will lead to a negative user experience. These are the results. My thoughts on this is that majority of testers thought the colour scheme worked and wasn't offensive to the eyes. Overall, I did not change the colour palette as the testers state is good, and personally it works for the game and the pastel colours complement the title. Thoughts on the location of the icons and interactable areas. This question aims to focus on the user experience as if they are difficult to get to and the user experience will feel clunky and unfun. These are the results. My thoughts on this is that the testers thought they were easy to find and use, which implies good user experience. However, one tester said they got confused on some pages. This changed later in the development as the deck builder page gained new visuals for the cards and buttons. Overall thoughts. The testers were happy with the current product.